We have made it. What's good, Chris? What a wild 3 months it has officially been. I appreciate everyone who has joined us today. 381 people in this room already. How many of them are bots? How many of them are people ready to change their future?
Feels like they're ready to move. Good migrations, GM. Feeling good, feeling hyped. A ton of excitement going on between all of these communities. So today's going to be a good day. Today is going to be a good day. Let's get this started.
Yep. The website is live. It looks like Zira, Project 89, Nova, Mock, Memes AI, and IQ community has already begun their migration. So we'll cover it here shortly. One note is that Chonky migration will begin in a few hours. There was they had to change some settings, and the team will be back in a few hours to set up their migration portal. But man, what a time. I am super excited here. Adam is not on the live stream right now. He's scooping up it's creating some tutorials. I've also pinned to the top a general tutorial from the official Migrate Fun account. So if you guys could please help reshare that, and you could send it to your communities on how to migrate. It literally is, I kid you not, a 10-second process on how to do it. But any questions, we will.
Let's obviously be careful with links on days like today. There's going to be a ton of scam sites, a ton of imposter sites, a ton of imposter accounts between all of our different communities. So let's really, really be sure to only click official links from either our accounts and obviously the teams that are producing them. So super important on days like this to stay super vigilant because attack vectors are everywhere. So keep it very serious today.
Yep. Wooden says GM. So we got almost 200 people on the live stream, a few hundred people on the spaces. People are absolutely excited. So am I. Also somewhat of a sigh of relief after doing this for 3 months now. Man, Migrate Fun V2. So we'll get into all of that. We do have some awesome guests who are on stage who have been with us along this insane journey. I'm getting tons of DMs already in the Telegram. So if I pause from saying anything, I'm generally responding.
Sure. And definitely anyone that is migrating, go ahead and post the experience if you'd like. It's a pretty fun, interactive experience. Obviously, tag us if you'd like some additional reach, and we're happy to kind of get those going. But Jake, what about maybe just like a recap of how we got here first with migrations, and then maybe we'll get anyone that wants to come on stage and talk about it as well. Feel free, and then maybe at the end we'll get like some predictions of how much supply these teams expect to be migrated on the first day, and maybe some fun things like that. But maybe how we got started.
Yeah, it's actually kind of an interesting story, right? And it seems like the majority of the teams who are migrating with this first group, as they're all pioneers, we're in a similar position. At the end of last year, we had launched our AI project. At the time, it was called Tensorium on Pump Fun during the initial kind of AI craze. And what the short-term benefits gave us initially, right? When you launch on Pump Fun, you get immediate attention, immediate price volatility, and you get immediate price action. But after a few months, we shortly realized that we had no access to LP rewards. We didn't buy any of the tokens, so we had like little to zero token treasury. We were stuck with an image that we wanted to rebrand, and the chart was just absolutely fucked, right? Because it's like how all the AI projects looked. And so combine that, and we knew for a long time that we needed to migrate to Hustle. Also, the Hustle ticker is pretty sweet, to say the least. And so we thought about the idea for quite a while, to be honest, but we had to overcome the locked liquidity issue. Migrations are not new by any sense. Migrations have been ongoing for over a decade. Actually, Emblem's first token, Koval, was migrated from a blockchain in 2014 called Ribbit Rewards, which was a Travel One blockchain. This is before Ethereum existed, and migrated to Koval on Counterparty in 2016. But at the time, there was no proliferation of locked liquidity pools. Everything was unlocked. Really, locked liquidity pools are something that's new to this last meme coin attention cycle. Majority of the time, if you wanted to migrate, you would just pull the liquidity out of the liquidity pool, take a snapshot of your holders, and airdrop that. But obviously, you can't do that with a locked liquidity pool. So we came up with the whole migration mechanism. And immediately we knew internally that it would be quite popular because over the last few months, we had been talking with a lot of teams who were in a very similar position to us. So we decided that, hey, we should potentially move this and create a product around it. But to show that it's successful, we're going to have to test our own project. So either, ruin everything, or it turns out that this could be something that's quite successful. So we did the hustle migration. When we did the hustle migration itself, it was actually a different migration than what you'll see here with essentially this is Migrate Fund V2. So what we did with Hustle is that we preceded the LP on the other side, so that when you migrated, there was no, or you got the new token immediately for trading. Ultimately, though, what came to find out is that the majority of teams, 99% of teams, do not have six figures laying around to precede an LP pool. As we've seen now, a handful of other competitors who are starting to bridge or bring migration tools to public have also implemented this method. But for us, we realize that that's not practical for the majority of people who are literally, hanging on by a thread. That was us, right? When we migrated Tensorium, the market cap was $800,000. And we were like, this needs to change immediately, or, the whole show is pretty much over at some point in the near future. So after we went through the hustle migration, there became a lot of demand for migrations as people realized that this was possible. And we were working with Radium initially, and then the Bonk Fund team reached out, and they were very interested in bringing teams over to their community. So we started working through the conversations of how to build a migration to a launchpad, which actually was something we were not really expecting. And maybe we'll get into some of that reasoning afterwards. And the demand just seriously exploded. I think from that first conversation with Bonk Fund, we had talked with maybe 10 to 20 teams. Up to today, now it's probably closer to 150 teams. That's mostly documented. And the reasoning for teams migrating is, it seems to be different no matter what conversation. There are some main themes, right? You want liquidity rewards, you want to rebrand, you want a new chart, you want a token treasury. There's a lot of other kind of reasons as well, but those are the main ones. And so we created this new V2 product. And this is where you'll see today that when you go to migrate, you get something called an MFT, which is what we're calling the Migrate Fund token itself. Essentially, it's a placeholder to come back later after the migration is over to get your tokens for the project that you're looking for. And so what are the reasons? Why does this exist? Well, the reason is that if you gave users the token before the LP is deployed, then somebody's going to go set up a rogue LP, and they're going to basically determine the price of your token, and the creator wouldn't, right? So we had to basically put a mechanism in for that to prevent that attack vector and kind of manipulation. And so that's where the Migrate Fund token was born. So you'll see that when you go today to go migrate, it'll say, migrate your Project 89 token for Project 89 MFT, and then you'll come back later and turn the MFTs in to get the new Project 89 token, or whichever.
Real quick, that's just like a placeholder token. That's not like an additional token to hustle, or doesn't have any monetary value. It's not available on the open market. It's just a placeholder to exchange tokens for other tokens.
Yep, exactly. So recommend just don't do anything with it. There's a lot of other things that are on in the background, but we created the Migrate Fund site from the user perspective to be as simple and straightforward as possible. Obviously, we're introducing a few new kind of mechanisms here that weren't previously explained, but we had to do that so that there's some surprise to it, and also to show that it took us literally 3 months to build this, and tons of changes, tons of backend program. When we got the audit, they had said that this was one of the most extensive Solana programs that they had ever audited. And Halborn also does audits for the Solana Foundation. So it took 20 days or so. And so now that we have turned in all of our remediations, we're just waiting for the public report there. We will also have documentation out here in the next few hours that will be available on the site. The team is just monitoring the migrations right now to ensure that everything runs smoothly. And then we'll continue on with the remainder of the checklist. This is now, I've been on the Emblem team now for almost 3 years, a month from today. And I would say this is by far the most extensive product launch that we've ever gone through. Thousands of hours have gone into this, communicating with 150 teams, dozens of protocols, criticism campaigns, changing the kind of social narrative around it, questions and everything. And so it just feels really good to finally be here where we are today. And I will be letting a handful of other people on stage, but Chris, if you'd like to chime in here.
Yeah, I'm seeing some migrations roll in. If you are migrating, go ahead and throw it on the timeline. Let's get this narrative booming. One thing that was interesting in kind of like the back room and the war room, also known as Discord, we were ideating on this product before we were migrating Hustle, and the liquidity pool was locked, and there was like maybe 100K or 150K, and we were like, we're just gonna have to axe it, and it's worth it to just start over. We were doing like the mental calculations, and then we were like, well, I guess we could just like buy a bunch of the tokens after the migration and just try and like recover as much as we can. And then we were able to determine that there's different thresholds based on how much you sell into the liquidity pool that you can actually retain. And so that's kind of like, that was like the aha moment of the whole product, where we were like, dang, we can actually unlock all of these liquidity pools that are quote unquote locked. And so from that moment on, we pretty much knew that it was going to be a pretty big product. And that's when we actually started to work on commercializing it. So that was a pretty cool moment within the team internally.
Yeah. And so I'm looking through some of the Telegram people have messaged me. Sounds like there might be a little bit of delay on the tokens that have been migrated. Just give the devs some time to, work through all of it. Speaking of that, we do have Bunzi, who's on stage, who is our Migrate Fund front-end engineer who created this awesome experience. I've been fortunate to work with Bunzi on a few products ourselves through Emblem over the years, but this is by far his best work, and he's been putting in 12 to 16 hour days every day for months at this point in time. So Bunzi, first, really applaud you, appreciate you for creating this awesome new product. There was no template here. We're creating literally a 0 to 1 technology. There's nobody has ever tried to commercialize migrations. So there was no blueprint for this. And we've really had to create this based off of the experience of everyone on the team, and also just the developing skills of Bunzi and our other developers who participated. So Bunzi, dude, first off, props to you, and welcome to the stage.
Yeah, it's launch day. Crazy.
Did you get some sleep?
Can't even make this shit up, dude. My electricity went out like 5 minutes before launch, like just naturally, like Murphy's Law, and fucking switched all the breakers, and then just can find out there's like I didn't open the mail, obviously, and like there's just like they shut it off for an hour. But that's definitely a side story. But thank God for laptops and hotspots. Able to still monitor everything. But yeah, this is definitely one of the most complex builds that I'm, with being a lot of development time spent in the Bitcoin ecosystem and things like that, and working with Sammy Shakes, dude, like massive, like, dude, this guy is brilliant. He hands down, like, working with him on all the different edge cases, and just how, like, I don't know, he takes such very complex problems and just like, yeah, let's do it. And just, it's been amazing. But yeah, it's a super cool concept and product to get to other teams, because, yes, teams can make all of their own custom contracts, but like a lot of people are using token launch platforms now. So like, it's a really cool tool that solves an actual real problem. And that's what's crazy about crypto, is like products that don't solve problems get hyped really big, but ones that don't, they're not as sexy, but like they are the ones that actually move the market, in my opinion, and just actually have longevity. So it's really cool to be a part of something like this that is, actually making a difference and helping teams, rather than just, selling some type of dream, which is, I'm not here to be negative. So yeah, this shit's dope. It's been amazing to work on.
Yes, sir. So now that we are live, how do you feel about all of it? I'm looking at the numbers. It seems like Project 89 is furthest ahead with 9.5% of the total migration.
Beast.
Again, these numbers may be lagging slightly. At least this is what I see in Telegram, but is expected. I think generally for most product launches, what we see in crypto, maybe this isn't as much as anymore, but usually you launch a product and it immediately gets like DDoSed or the site goes down or there's some sort of issue. The fact that we're running smooth and that maybe there's a slight lag is the bit. What'd you say?
I said keep it chill. Don't jinx the launch.
Yeah, bro, my electricity already went out. No, it's yeah, I'm looking at the logs, a bunch of 200 requests in, so it's good. And like, what's cool about this program is it's all through the contract. So we're not dependent on servers and like, people kind of DDoS, doing that type of stuff because we're just interacting with on-chain contracts. So it makes it a super good experience for the users because there's no load time. It's like, imagine that using the blockchain. So this is really cool to see, and it's always nerve-wracking. So to like product go live countdown, and like Jake has been amazing, like testing so much, which is extremely helpful. So if there is anything, leave any feedback and stuff like that is help like taken really seriously. But we tested the shit out of this thing, which was pretty awesome.
Dude, I've done probably like, I kid you not, maybe 30 or 40 tests on testnet and then maybe like 30 or 40 tests on mainnet. Going through all of it is by far the most extensive product I've ever tested. Literally 16-hour days for the last month or so. I did pin something to the top that Dax, who's the creator of Zira, had posted. Whenever you do migrate and get your MFT claim, there's a cool call to action at the end where you can copy the image of the migration, as well as there's like a preset template. Bunzi, could you explain what that is and just kind of about it?
Yeah, this was a cool idea brought up by Adam. He was like, there was this other platform that when you finished, you could copy the image and easily share it to X. So we implemented it on the Tensor to Hustle migration. And, as we took a step back and looked at everything and built it more as like a dynamic system, we implemented it as for all projects at the end to be able to land, get a confirmation, get a transaction ID to confirm everything, obviously, but then to be able to kind of share and, talk about and get on the timeline about the migration to educate everyone else in the community that, hey, a migration's happening. This is how much has been, migrated thus far, because the main goal here for all projects that are migrating is like you want to over communicate this to the community so everyone can partake. So it's a really cool thing, and it gets timeline gets the people going, so you love to see it.
Yeah, that's really the point of it. Obviously, we want to promote the Migrate Fund platform, but also it really comes down to awareness, trying to take a lot of the lessons that we learned with the Hustle migration itself. I'll be curious to see if anyone breaks our record. So in the first 24 hours of the Hustle migration, we had 51% of the total supply migrated. So literally the majority in the first day. We had 60% of the total supply migrated in the first 3 days and ended up with 78% total. When we did our migration, there was also 7% in the liquidity pool at the completion of the migration. So about 85% of all tokens were allocated during the migration itself. That's a like extremely high turnout. So I hope to see some of the teams beat that. All right, you want as many people to participate as possible. Unfortunately, you'll never get everyone to participate 100% in anything. That's not just like crypto. That's just in general. But the goal is to get everyone aware. Right, you could do the different things like we did with Our dev said now every team has some migrated amount. So all 13 teams that are up there, awesome. Community has been paying attention. Again, Chunky will be starting in a few hours, just waiting for a few edits from their team. I think they're at like the Korean Blockchain Week events at the moment. But yeah, you want everyone to participate, right? Like when we did the hustle migration, we put migrating now in the project accounts headline, basically promoted it every day from the official accounts and the community members. And some of the cool things that end up happening is that, you know, the ones who migrate end up becoming, you know, your loudest promoters, because there does take some, you know, a manual process to this. Maybe AI does it here in, you know, a year or two when you have the agents kind of migrate it for you. But for now, it needs human touch, right? So when we migrated Hustle, I think there was 600 and something that ended up migrating. And that's literal humans who are migrating, right? So now they're the ones that are active in the Telegram. They're the ones that are active in Twitter. And you get this fresh rejuvenation of energy for the people who are supporting the project itself. So exciting.
To go off of that is, you know, when you're looking on the outside from migrations, like we did a 30-day window and everybody was like, whoa, that's like way too soon. You know, from the outside, everyone thinks that that's way too short of a time frame. But actually, when you get in these communities, you have two kind of focal points. You have the beginning of the migration, you have the end. And so it doesn't matter the length of the migration, that just matters that there's a start and an end. And you can see that even with these communities today. Most communities chose 1 week. They can choose anytime they'd like, but they chose 1 week, not 1 month, not really 2 weeks, but 1 week. Because when communities decide to migrate, that's the big decision. Migrating is the easy part. Deciding to migrate is the harder part. And so it's really just a Cambrian explosion, ready to go in, get it done, and move forward with the project. So I think that's been, that thesis was definitely proven right on our side as well.
Yeah, it really comes down to the relationship with the community. Also, I see some of the devs sorting some of the UI stuff. So just be patient while they look into some of the things related to loading times and such. Yeah, the community relationship, right? This comes down to, and then I'll call on some hands because I know Dax had his hand up. Let's cover the snapshot and claim tool. This was generally the contentious nature of migrations themselves, which caused some criticism, some pretty heavy criticism on the platform from a handful of people. You know, criticism rightfully so, but I think they were kind of unaware of what actually is going on, and it's inevitably refused to accept what was actually going on. So let me give a little bit of a history and then what the tool is themselves. So something we added to the platform itself that's native is called our snapshot and claim tool. And what this is a setting for the teams who set up the migration for late migrators, right? So for example, the majority of teams right now have set a 7 or 14-day migration window. Some teams have gone longer or have them set up for longer, but just generally. So let's say your community, you have, 20% of the supply does not migrate within the 14-day window, right? It's how do you deal with these late migrators? So historically, before we built this platform, there was kind of 2 ways to go about migrations, and it depended on the chains that you were on. If you were doing migrations outside of Ethereum, then it was generally, right, and these are in like ecosystems where liquidity pools are not prevalent. It was generally a manual migration, and it was like a very manual process, very tedious. I know this because Emblem has done it multiple times. And if you missed the migration window, if you missed the migration window, then you didn't get anything, right? Because then it would take the teams, months to figure out, how to deal with late migrators and people kind of, messaging them and such. Then when Ethereum launched in when liquidity pools became popular, in 2021, the liquidity pools were unlocked. So then users could then, or teams could then take a snapshot of the holders, remove the liquidity, and then go set up wherever they want to go. And they had a list of all the holders. And then this last cycle, right, you have the proliferation of locked liquidity pools. So you can't do the snapshot because the liquidity is there, or the liquidity stuck in the pool itself. So the thing with this kind of scenario with Migrate Fund is that, we've come to accept that, in order to get to recover the liquidity from the locked liquidity pool, you need users to participate in the migration itself. The more users who participate, the more liquidity is going to be recovered from the old pool that we'll use to seed the new pool, right? So, and so with that kind of understanding there is some game theory here where users need to be incentivized to participate in the migration. And this is where it gets contentious, is that some teams opt to do a reward mechanism, and we've built in a penalty mechanism. And the reason why we've built a penalty mechanism is that what is the most profound incentive of them all in crypto is the fear of losing your money, right? What is going to get people to migrate is that fear. Whether you agree with that or not, that's just us kind of really accepting the reality of this situation. And so the teams have the ability to set a penalty. So if you miss the 14-day migration period, the team can set a penalty of 1% to 100%, right? If they set 100%, that means if you miss the migration, you're done. You don't get anything. The other ones is, let's say you set a 50% penalty. That means that the people who come to the late migration window, and the claim window is 90 days. So for 90 days, then you'll take your old tokens and you'll get 50% of what the initial token supply was, depending on how they had set up the metrics and stuff. And so with this, right, it kind of satisfies two kind of common areas here. One of them being a reason why a team will migrate is that they want to reclaim some of the token treasury because they launched on a launchpad. They didn't buy any of it. The token took off, or, maybe in Project 89's case, the token was literally launched on your behalf and you were going given 1% of the supply, right? So if you do like a 50% migration or a 50% penalty, and again, I'm just using this as examples, it's not to any specific team, then let's say, for an example, you have 20% of the supply is not migrated. If you do a 50% penalty, then the team will automatically recoup at least 10% to go into their treasury to fund the long-term project. Or if it's a meme community, they'll do some sort of DAO, or they could do airdrops, or they could really do whatever they want, right? And so for us, we're a tool that builds stuff, or we're a tool that allows teams to migrate. But from the Migrate Fund side, we do not want to be in the game of making decisions on behalf of teams. We're not here to manage teams' token treasury. We're not here to make decisions for you long-term. We're here to provide tools that are preferential to the situation that you're in. And we've had teams in this cohort do 0% penalty up to 100% penalty and in between, right? And that just kind of speaks to the degree of the different situations that exist for teams that are migrating. There's actually like a handful of other tools that we need to build as well, as teams come in and have different types of requests. But that's kind of the general idea. And that's the contentious nature of migrations, is how to deal or handle those who miss the migration. And people miss migrations for authentic reasons, right? They were on vacation, they didn't see the tweets, they were caught up in other investments. People said they're at weddings. Like, I've heard a bunch of the different reasons. But then people have different philosophies about all of it in general, right? And so it really comes down to the team and the relationship with the community and the understanding between them to set that mechanism in place, or how to handle the late migrators. After the claims open, so once the migration ends, the teams come back and use our dashboard. It's an onboarding dashboard, separate from the site that you see. And they'll take a snapshot, they'll deploy or they'll do the final swap. They'll set the market cap of the new token, deploy the LP, and then open claims. Claims will happen last. And final note here for some things. So if the teams are migrating to Radium, we have their LP tokens locked It's mandatory in a stream flow account for 30 days. After 30 days, the teams then take possession of their LP tokens and they can do whatever they want with it. Again, because we're not in the business to make decisions on behalf of teams, but we also do want to protect users in case there is some sort of malicious activity. I do not think that at all for this first group, but once the site is public, right, there are going to be people who are going to try to do some sort of malicious activity with it. And so we do want to protect the users on that. And for the 11 teams that are migrating to Bonk Fund, there was 2 different fee settings, which are the configs to what Bonk Fund has set up. The teams will choose either the tech setting, which is the ICM markets, or they choose the meme settings, and it matches exactly to Bonk Fund. And so we've also provided Bonk Fund with all of the addresses to the teams migrating for them to include them with and to do, whatever is their decision with how to provide their support for their migrating teams over to Bonk Fund.
Last thing for me is just, and then maybe Adam has some thoughts. Welcome back, Adam. Good to see you. And then we can go to some hands and some teams. But just like, a lot of these edge cases, from the outside looking in, they don't really make sense. But when you get into the weeds of the migrations, they're very dynamic and every team has different needs to fulfill. So the best way to fulfill all of those needs is to fill none of them and just leave options up to the team. Nobody is going to know these communities better than the actual team. And anyone from the outside thinking that they should be the arbiter of truth on what these communities should do, well, then they should build their own community. They don't need to take shots at anyone else's community. They should just build their own. And so we're just a platform that provides tools and tooling for all these teams to best fit what will help them thrive above all else. And that's what Migrate Fund is. And super impressed with the platform. Obviously, the turnout's been super smooth. And just this first cohort of really pioneers is so impressive because, you guys took some backlash as well from everyone. But, these things will be more mainstream. Migrations will be totally normalized. So props to everyone for kind of taking the jump and taking the ride with us. And excited to see everyone win on the other side.
Yeah, hold on, update. We got 3 teams who have migrated over, or 4 teams actually, who've migrated over 10% of their supply
in 40 minutes.
Yeah, the DeFAI to mock migration has 11%. Project 89 has 10.8%. The Stoic team, who's moving to Hypertrade, has 15%, and Magic or Monopoly Money 2 Zira is 18.7. I see Dax messaging me, says they have 20%. So they are, again, the site is a little delayed. Dev team is looking into it. But yeah, that's the update there. So 4 teams over 10% already.
Dax is in the lead, bro. He wants to know that he's in the lead right now, man. It's so funny, man. It's funny. Like, I don't know. We've talked to so many teams, it starts to blur. And these guys aren't even part of this cohort, but we had a call the other day with basically in their community, in their Telegram, and, talking about, they were just discussing migration, and immediately there was one whale who sold out. And you know what I said to him? It's like, that's fine, because in the way, what it is at the other side of this migration, you've strengthened your actual holders, the people who want to be on board, the ones who actually believe in the people who are running the project. And some of these are CTOs, right? And you come out the other side stronger. And we've seen that with our token. And I think, yeah, for a lot of these teams, they'll see that on the other side.
Yes, they will. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy. I think we're in contact with most major platforms. Also, new launch pads that are popping up, interested. The ability to move cross-chain with the platform itself is also an opportunity. Although 95% of demand is Solana demand, at least from the teams that we've talked with. But no doubt in my mind, these things will evolve. The needs will continue to grow. And what migrations are is really just a business relocations platform is kind of how I see it, right? What do we do? First, what does Emblem Vault do? That's the parent company that our co-founders founded in 2016, is a shipping company. It's you take an NFT, you put a bunch of assets inside of it, and you move it from one chain to another. So we have almost a decade of experience with Crypto logistics is kind of like what I like to call it. And this is essentially the same thing. So instead of taking individual assets and moving them across chains, we're taking projects and moving them across ecosystems. So you could call it intra-operability, where interoperability is across chains. So intra within the same chain. And it reminds me a lot of the first time homebuyer experience, where we will have this website, or the platform will be public at some point next month. But I still think we're probably going to continue with the migration groups, because most of the teams who are migrating, they want to have a call with you. They want to know every single question in and out. And it's very similar to buying a home, right? You want to look through every little square inch of the house, look for issues, really evaluate. You go back and talk with, your family, if that's the right house. It's the same thing here. The teams talk with us, then they go back to their community, then they come back to us, then they go back to their community. And there's this like back and forth nature of it. Is really time intensive, but that's completely fine, because it is going to be a big moment in the career of themselves, as well as the lifespan of the project. And so we've learned a lot over the last 3 months or so, related to the migration process. And this is why I feel very comfortable where we are, and because if there are competitors who pop up, which is good, because it just gives validation to the thesis of it, but they still have to go through this process of talking with all these teams and understanding all the nuances of it. And it is very, very extensive, to say the least, but excited where we are today. I know we did have a few hands. So first I will go to Dax, who's been patiently waiting. And then we'll go over to Project 89. What's good, bro?
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. I wanted, because you were talking about the CTA and all that fun stuff, and that kind of like work is what I nerded out on at MetaMask. So Funzy's still around and not running around like a chicken with his head cut off. I'm curious, did you pull that as like a React component, or did you throw this into Next? I tried to throw Wappalizer on it and like reverse hack to see where you're hosting this, but it didn't pull anything up on the first search. So I was just curious, because you said it's all on chain. So are you hosting it through like an IPFS service? Is this a Cloudflare worker? Every time I see it refresh, is that you pushing an update, or is that how you fetch new data?
Just it's a Next.js app pulling just Helios RPC calls.
Cool.
And just so yeah.
Did you build that into the call to action? Is that like a React component, or sorry, Next.js component that you built, or did you use the old school the image generator, the Open Graph image generator that Vercel put out for Next?
On which part? Sorry.
The call to action at the end.
Oh, at the end. Yeah. That's just that's HTML to canvas. Just like yeah. It's just
Nice.
Makes it into a little HTML component, and then it just snapshots it, and then you just puts it into your copy paste.
It reminds me of because Vercel has had that feature in Next.js as part of their Open Graph
really?
NPM repository for years, and they came out with it, and it's like a whole vectorized thing, but you don't have to do it in Canvas. You can write a TypeScript component to handle it, and so they have it on their they have the demo for their events page, their events demo monorepo. They have the tickets where like when you mint a ticket to go to an event, actually. So that thing is
I didn't know that was native to their new. That's cool. I'm gonna have to check that out.
I'm curious if it's all Next.js, and this is just my opinion, and my community loves it when I give my nerdy opinion. So please take it with a grain of salt.
So this is you pumping your bags, huh?
I'm all about it, dude.
Why didn't you do WebSockets? I would have thrown an extra server on there to collate everything and then pump all the live data forward for like overall progress through WebSocket. I feel like that would have been more reliable.
Yeah, so with 3 months of a build and just so much testing, like as the product gets refined and optimized, that is 100% the goal, is to, get everything at a very high production level, but just keeping everything isolated and easily debuggable is kind of the concept of just 0 to 1. And then now that we're at 1, we can just do all types of iterations and just know the core functionalities in place. But all of this is 100% on the roadmap, and just, more so of just like MVP state of mind, and trying to get this thing highly functional, but no, WebSockets
Safe.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. No, and I love that answer because like I think that's something that my community doesn't realize is like I was at MetaMask. I was at these companies where like we need a polished product. Like there are MVPs that will launch internally and stuff, but I absolutely love this attitude of build safely and build fast. And you guys picked like it's insanely performant. How maybe you want to talk about it or don't want to talk about it, but how many requests have you had in the last 30 minutes, last 10 minutes, and you're handling that at scale with no problems, from a zero start to this, which is incredible. What is it looking like for you on your end? Like 10,000, 20,000 requests a minute?
Let me pull it up. We're not honestly making too many, like there's not too much crazy stuff going on. It's
Fair.
essentially, when someone loads the page, we're getting like, I mean, actually, if I get into the nitties of it, but honestly, yeah, I forget what the question was. I'm looking at all the logs right now.
That's awesome because I just encountered that I ended up DDoSing my own QuickNode endpoint just with requests. And I'm like, I'm not going to be able to do this. Every client needs its own. I'm going to need an Nginx server in front of this and need to figure out how to collate the calls on my end because even 5 clients running on my local machine was like, oh, you've hit your API usage limit.
Yeah. No, dude, luckily like the middleware and everything in Next.js and the way you can set up like rate limiting. And dude, even it was awesome.
Cool.
Chris on one of the calls, like it was a dev call and he was like, dude, this shit's gonna get DDoSed. And it was something that I just, like there's so many things that need to get done. And just like obviously on a small team, there's benefits of working on a big team with like all of that. But it slows things down tremendously. And, a 3-month build from concept to live is pretty awesome. Yeah. And so we actually Shannon took some time and like optimized because there's been a lot of stuff with Vercel and Cloudflare using different like optimizations, and he set it up really effectively. So yeah, it was cool. I don't know. For me, it was cool hearing Chris, who's like really good at product design and stuff, just like implementing and bringing up development kind of edge cases. And so yeah, we got because Cloudflare and Vercel are beefing, so it's pretty cool to see everything get a little bit stronger on both ends. Yeah,
it is. So you guys picked Vercel for your host then?
Yeah,
I'm assuming.
Yeah,
that's interesting because I am a full send. Like I did that whole React thing or the whole Next.js thing when it was coming out 2020 with all the token stuff. But I don't know what happened to me. I got salty on Next.js and their opinions, and so like I full send React and Cloudflare.
Yeah,
like it's a little harder.
It makes, that was a fun part. That was like, dude, I don't know, like
it was a time
because Vercel is like turning into the WordPress of this like next wave.
Yeah,
and, like they're very deterministic on some things, and then they, I don't know. That's a whole nother conversation. But the it's just so good. It's so easy. So it's like, but no, I love this, dude. It's cool hearing, because a lot of this work goes kind of like, why doesn't the button why when I click the button doesn't just like do all of my taxes and like drive my car home and do this?
Because use effect is really complicated.
Yeah.
Use effect is my enemy and the bane of my existence.
Yeah, no, it's funny. Yeah, no, this is helpful. I haven't like talked to people in like 3 months. So
we keep our devs in the basement, by the way. So Bunzi hasn't seen the sun in a while.
Bunzi, come hang out with me. I'll get you on a Spaces and we'll do nothing but talk nerd stuff, and my community will go crazy over it.
Dude, say less, bro. That sounds so fun because I'm just like yelling at my computer with my fingers, and like
you'll see tweets from me that my community loves because I'm like, I am ready to throw my laptop across the room. And they're like, why? And then I just go, well, because the way that I'm trying to package this React Native script with this node runtime inside of a Rust compile time, it's all being stuffed into my Apple signature that needs to go, deep into the like exported like a pile of APK doesn't want to do the thing that I wanted to do, and everyone's like, I don't know what you're saying, but that sucks.
Damn, bro, I need in. What token are you migrating to? I need to get some of this token, bro.
Zera Labs, and we're a think tank. So if there's ever a time for more collaborations between us and Migrate.fun, or you guys want to do a privacy-based migration where nobody can track it, or whatever else.
Dude, let's build dark pools.
Dark migration pools.
Yeah, that'd be sick as hell. Some of the early stuff that I've been doing with my research too is all around like continuing Elusive's work into the anonymous pool system. So it's not a mixer, but it's still entirely anonymous. And it is, zero knowledge proofs are hard and complicated, but the tech underlying it is so fun. It is just so fun to build this stuff.
Yeah.
What was my brain's mush right now, but what was the big Ethereum project that was
you mean the guys at Tornado Cash?
Yeah.
So
bring it back.
That I agree, which is actually why I think I told Jake this, but just last week I was at the Texas Capitol proposing a bill to make it legal here in Texas for all that stuff and to protect you. If you're a privacy-based company and you use
to bear arms and right to fucking let's go.
So I got a few. So I've got hold on. So I got a few updates, technical, and then I'm gonna go around the room for all the other speakers who are on stage. So 2 tech notes. We also use Cloudflare behind Vercel, and it looks like we're getting around 6,000 requests a minute currently, is what I've been notified from our dev team. So sounds like a lot. I have no idea really, but sounds pretty good. Dax, I appreciate you for coming on, man. I do want to call over to Project 89, who also seems like they are in second or third place. I don't know who's behind the account. Pars, is that you behind the account?
Yeah, I'm over here.
There he is.
I'm going to all my whales and being like, go migrate, guys. It's a race. We got to gamify the leaderboard.
So it also appears that even though we had Migrate Fund approved on Phantom, I have to go reach out to them again to get it verified. So it looks like a few people are getting the malicious DApp note on Phantom. So it should be fine. It's an approval process. We had to do this with the Hustle migration. I guess it got lost somehow. So I'm going to have to email them again. But I'm just going to note that as something that some people have been sending to us. So let's get
verify the contract real quick as well. So just go to SoulScan, make sure that you're migrating to the right spot, and you can like do a self-verification for yourself.
Mm-hmm. Oh, cool. I also have at least one person who seems to be having issues trying to migrate on mobile, saying that it's not initialized. I know that might be.
Are they in the wallet context? They need to be in the wallet browser.
You can't just go through a mobile browser. You have to go through the Phantom app interface and then go to Migrate Fund.
Gotcha. I will let them know.
As for that thing, I can actually speak to what you're encountering with Phantom because we built that at MetaMask. I bet what they have is a tiered thing. Is when Chicken, you guys originally did, your hustle, you only had 10, 20,000 people, maybe 50,000 people total over that whole week. You said you're getting 6,000 requests a minute. Phantom's now going, oh shit, either this is one of the most fast spreading malwares in the world or someone's launched a product and they're erring on the side of caution and locking that down. And it's a scale thing for sure.
Yep. Awesome. So yeah, Shannon says, we're going to use Vercel OG. We use it in a few other places. So yeah, just speaking to reiterating on the idea that this went from literally idea 3 months ago, literally just an idea, to now V2 in three months, as well as, an extensive audit and such. So the platform and stuff has changed over time, but it's an incredible work by our development team to be able to build this thing while flying it. And then also to our strategy team for, handling all of the conversations, being able to categorize it, get to the bottom of it. It's been a very interesting situation to be in, and it'll continue to evolve as being a tool that, helps these platforms migrate projects, but can also on the other side help projects migrate away to other ecosystems. So kind of in the center there. So being able, kind of underappreciated or underlooked, but balancing that kind of situation between talking with all these teams and all the protocols, and really how hyper competitive the AMM space is on Solana. It's been very interesting to say the least, but awesome position. Good problems to have. Pards, I'm going to pass it back over to you. Any questions, any other questions about the migration? Or I'd also just love you to, talk a little bit about Project 89 and the reason to migrate, and maybe anything to look forward to once the migration completes on Bonk.
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff planned. I mean, this has definitely been a long process for us, even before like you guys first reached out, because I think it was in last November we were talking about, like, after the token launched and after we realized what our situation we were in, where we couldn't launch our own token, we weren't making any money off the token we had. We're like, well, what are some of the options? Oh, well, we could migrate our token. And I chatted with a few people about that, and the whole idea of like making a platform, vaulting it, transferring it over to rugging, liquidating the old pool, moving it over to a new one was something I chatted with a couple contract studio about that Shaw had connected me to. But I was like, man, one super, the general perception of migrations is bearishness. That's what I heard at the time. The whole trust thing, the amount of work and effort required to actually do it, all of that was like, okay, that's not really an option right now. Then fast forward to like 3 to 4 months ago, and actually Shannon was the first one who reached out to me, being like, yo, bro, I built something that I had you in mind for when I was doing it, because you guys are in the same situation. And I walked through, I'm like, hey, this is like the same thing that we wanted to do like 7 months ago, kind of thing. And knowing that, like, one, you guys had solved the hard problems. Two, it's been fully audited. It's fully like building up that trust. Like if each project wanted to do this themselves, they'd have to build the tech themselves and they get their community to trust what they built.
Exactly.
But when you have something that's been validated and verified and worked for everybody, it builds up that perception of trust and changes the narrative from being something which is bearish, like, oh, you're migrating, to something which is bullish, which is, oh man, you guys get more control over your token to build with. That's good for me, because that means that my bags go up because you're working on the token. Like you have funds to build with. I've had so many conversations with people trying to explain to them that I make no money. Like I've gone into personal debt over the last year to just keep building. And because I love it, and I love the community, I love what's built up around it. I don't want to rug people just to like pay my bills, but it's not a sustainable business. So having all of this come about, and then I think it was Soul Crow here, Run It Back Ghost, made a post being on one of Bonk Guy's posts, being like, man, it'd be so cool if 89 was on Bonk Fund. And then Bonk Guy reached out to me being like, hey, would you consider migrating to Bonk Fund? So he connected me over with Cadence and the team over at Bonk Fund. And I was chatting with them, and I'm like, so do you guys have like a migration process? They're like, no, nothing right now. And I was like, well, I know some people who might be able to integrate Bonk Fund into a migration platform they're building. And then they were like, actually, we've been in chats with a team that's also doing it. And then it turned out we were talking about the same people. It was all very serendipitous as it all came together. And has really meant that like it on the other side of this, as I've been trying to tell people, like we have a bunch of news coming down the pipeline that we have been saving. Like, I'm not going to pump the chart right now because I make nothing off of it. The goal is pump chart after migration and actually start to make some funds that we can use to build our business. And so, what it really means for us is that we can operate a legit business. Right, one of our new partners who's come on board the team, Ryan Gill, he's been bringing a lot of experience, but he formulated and did an ICO for a token called the OMeta for the Open Meta Association about 5 years ago during the last metaverse craze, and it just never manifested itself. And so as he was kind of like winding things down, we were chatting, and we'd been aware of one another for quite some time, and he was like, man, I love Project 89. You guys are like the only people that I would trust to like continue to carry on the vision of emergence. And so we started chatting about ways to work together. And I'm like, man, I'm launching this new token, but I'm like pulling my hair out trying to figure out how to do it compliantly. He's like, oh, well, I have a Swiss association that I'm not using, and it would do me a big favor for you to take it rather than have me close it down. So that's when the whole Green Loom Association thing came about. So we now actually have like a fully compliant legal Swiss vehicle to launch the token with full legal contracts. We have a Canadian company here that is going to be producing Project 89 and receiving revenue for it. We will be fully doxed on the other side of this. Like, we are trying to build a real business, right? And then we're making an 89 content. Our goal is TV shows, movies, IP licensing, and revenue from that will go to buy back and burn the 89 token. So, it's a relatively simple flywheel, but it's a legit flywheel for a legit business. Like, we're going from like random and non-launch meme coin to being fully legit, fully compliant business on the other side of this. So that for us is huge because, I don't have to like worry about, how I pay my taxes or how I pay my team with shady crypto assets. Like, it sucks. It sucks not like getting thrust into this industry, trying to build a business on it, having no idea how to navigate the weird regulations around crypto has honestly been a huge stress point for me.
Yeah, it's never changing. I've been here pretty much every day. Chris and I have for 9 years, and our founder even longer. And the hardest part about building in crypto is the dynamic nature of the business models.
Yeah.
Right. Last cycle it was 90% of NFT companies were dependent on royalties. Then royalties get ripped away. Right. This cycle it's like projects launch and get traction on launch pads, but then they have no access to the LP rewards or a token treasury, right? So it's always survival in this industry is highly dependent on the ability of the team to be able to recognize change and take immediate action when that does happen, and not really hold on to dreams and wishes.
Exactly. And that's one of the reasons, like, we did a lot of considerations across the board for whether we go independent, whether we go bonk fund. I even had Elon reach out and I had a chat with him about like staying on pump fund. And at the end of the day, what I realized about all of it was both alignment of values. And like, after chatting with Cadence and the team and the bonk community in general, they know how to build a legit business. Like, bonk has been around for such a long time. They've built through bear markets. They've built through bull markets. They're actually building a legit business with legit flywheels. And they were the first ones to make a launch pad that was trying to give back to the communities that were launching on it and also benefiting the bonk coin at the same time. So it's like, after chatting with them, being like, there's a lot of things that I just don't know about how to run a crypto business. Like, I always thought market makers were just there to kind of like, scam the chart, but it actually turns out that market makers serve a legit purpose of helping you to liquidate your token without hurting the chart so that you can pay your team. That was all. I'm like, how do I sell my token when I sell it, one, people see that I'm selling it and are like, oh man, that's bearish, and it hurts the chart. Like, I don't know how to do that. A lot of teams were just like, here, I'm going to take out 50 grand to pay my team. And all of a sudden the chart dumps and everybody's like, what? Why'd you do that? Like, there's all these things that I know nothing about that the team over there, they know how to build long-term sustainable coins. They're not looking for fast pumps. They're looking for like building up and then sustaining coins long-term at high market caps. And I was like, okay, like there's a lot to doing this in a legit way. Not a lot of people in the space who know how to build a long-term legit coin.
It's really tough. I mean, I feel like the narrative has shifted a little bit this last cycle about teams selling their own tokens. But when I got into Emblem in 2022, it was, if you sold literally 10 cents of your token supply, you were a scamming team who dumps on their community, and such. I think really Solana really helped flip this narrative, because Solana's really modeled their chain after kind of startup kind of focus centric growth metrics and such, and adding runway, and that became a very big focus of Solana's culture. Whereas previously Ethereum and Bitcoin are more kind of sovereign nations and kind of have a lot more independency related to all the different cultures on the community. But yeah, Pars, you bring up a really good point, is that the token treasuries fund the future operations, and talking with market makers or different types of automated services to help liquidate that to where it doesn't affect the chart is really important.
And I will say I've said this a lot, and then I'll let some other people come up. But the reason why the AI run ended last time was not just because attention moved on. It's because people pulled in legit devs working on legit things, gave them empty promises about making a bunch of money, and then they had nothing to build with. And I think a lot of the people that were speculatively investing in AI projects, they wanted devs to build something in like 2 to 3 weeks. And those devs made no money. They had no way to pay their teams. I know many that crashed and burned because they were out of resources or out of money when literally there were other people farming millions of dollars off their charts on that speculation, and they saw nothing from it. And if we want another AI run that's going to succeed, we need these ICMs. We need the internet capital market models. We need the 1% trading fees that are offered by Bonk Fund can sustain a team to actually build, like multiple devs building real products. If we want another AI run, it's not going to be more empty meme speculations. It's got to be legit teams that have the runway that they need to do the work and fulfill the promises that they're making.
Yeah, you couldn't have said it any better. You really, drive home the point about the necessity of migrations, but also the real kind of situations that a lot of the teams are in who are migrating, right? It's really kind of this, it shows the grittiness of the teams who are unwilling to quit, even when times are really tough, and want to continue to building, right? They don't want this to end. I know there was a handful of AI projects that had posted that they had shut down operations because there was no funding there. And that was kind of really the spark for us, and was becoming a real concern for us of, hey, there is no revenue for this product. AI projects are very expensive to operate, which requires a lot of dev hours to put into, new architecture that has to be set up. And it's not just something that can be built for free. And so this is why we say that migrations are bullish, because it shows that the team is ready for a second life, right? Or a refresh. They're not just going to pretend the token never existed. They're bringing all the people along with them who want to join, go on this second adventure together, and it rallies the troops. So it shows that the team is ready for a second breath of life, as well as the community members who follow along, who say, yes, I'm backing this team, this founder, this meme, whatever the situation is, because I truly believe in it, and it is a part of my identity, and I want to continue forth. So it is, super exciting. And it's awesome to have both of you guys on board with Project 89 and Zira. I'm going to hand it over to IQ 6900. What's good? Who's behind the account?
Hey, it's Gage, G behind the account
What's
right
good,
now.
G?
Hey, what's good?
Chilling, coming from Korea at KBW. It's currently like 3:10 a.m., so I'll keep this short.
You're a trooper, man.
But I couldn't miss this space at all. And I wanted to echo kind of exactly what Parzival said, right? Like starting from a meme coin as well ourselves, and then transitioning to a legit business. There's no better vehicle for doing this than migrate.fund, right? And then when you look at the initial wave of projects who first migrated, who first announced this, and kind of paved the way for this new meta with the mindshare and like the actual technological people going and starting a business from their tokens, it shows who the real builders are, right? And it shows who saw this. They saw, oh, wow, this is a vehicle to actually turn our thing into a legitimate company. And it kind of just shows that there's visionaries here working through the FUD when people were initially saying like, oh, no, you're rugging your community. No, you have people with a vision. You have people trying to build, and you have people who need to secure the future for their project and their community, right? And aside from just the business aspect of it too, a lot of people don't realize that there's over $300 million of Solana locked in pump fund, right? In dead pools, inactive pools, in very low volume pools. If we can even harness just like fractions of what is sitting there, this is kind of the breath of fresh air that will pour hundreds of millions of dollars of liquidity back into the trenches, right? Because we've experienced all these extraction events, and now we have almost like a reverse extraction event. We can get a ton of this locked liquidity back and flow it right back into the hands of on-chain traders. And that is going to be a massive thing that a lot of people are not considering, and they are not ready for it.
Yeah, it's exactly our philosophy. When we launched the project, our initial philosophy was that the majority of teams would want to migrate to their own liquidity pool, to take, sovereignty over it, to control the funds, and to make decisions, right? And fully kind of unilateral vertical decisions. ultimately ended up being a lot more teams migrating to launch pads. And I think the reason behind this is that most teams are probably not ready to manage the liquidity, or they just do not have the full understanding of all of the different mechanisms that exist in the industry. But they do still want to continue on with the project, right? And so, I kind of see launchpads as training wheels to a degree. Although once you get larger, right, you can essentially become like the whale in the dominant, or in the dominant whale in the ocean of all of these teams on a launch pad, which also has a lot of value. But for a team like IQ 6900 who's migrating, they wanted to migrate to their own Radium pool to have full autonomy over the LP. Obviously, with that comes a lot more responsibility and a lot more kind of checks and balances that you have to do. But as you could see through G's words, like, it was literally life or death situation. Like, this has to happen, and they fully believe in their team and the products that they push, and that they want to continue this into an actual business.
100%, 100%. Me, myself, the rest of our team, our community, we all believe extremely strongly in what we're doing. Of course, as every strong builder should, right? And again, this is the perfect vehicle. So whether you're going to a launch pad, your own pool, there's varying degrees of freedom for whatever you need to do. And it's beautiful, really, for anyone building an actual project and anyone involved, right? So with that, I'll wrap it up. I got to get some sleep. I got a lot of events in the morning, but I want to say thank you guys for everything you've built. Thank you for being extremely involved with the community, extremely responsive to everyone's questions, and for building an amazing product that is going to redefine the meta for the rest of this cycle.
Absolutely love to see it. Appreciate you guys. You guys have been fantastic. We do have on stage our founder, our lovely founder, Shannon Code, who built Emblem Vault in 2016, been an OG in the space, building on chain, even to Mastercoin in 2012. So I've seen the whole proliferation of it. Absolute legend. Shannon, you there with us? What's good, bro?
Hey guys, yeah, I'm here. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yep. We got you. There he is.
There he is, the legend himself.
Awesome. This is an exciting day for everyone. I'm really happy.
Oh no, we lost him.
Embracing the whole idea. And I'm gonna go ahead and mute, but I'm here for any technical questions, or if anybody has any direct questions for me. I did want to circle back to one of the previous technical questions. We've learned a lot from our building over the years, and we've launched quite a handful of products, and we decided with this one that we were going to really remove a lot of the technicality from the architecture so that we could get it all working functionally. So that means that when the site is loaded, most of the interaction happens between the user on their web browser directly with the contracts. So the majority of our calls are not like, we don't have a database involved, we don't have WebSockets, so there's not live updates being pushed. So things do get a little bit laggy. We had last time I looked, we had about 37 calls to the RPC, which means about 40,000 requests directly to the blockchain. And that just kind of helps make things technically a little bit more stable, not as fast and responsive, but those things will come now that we've got all of the edge cases handled and all the underlying contract work done and live and working. Then come the optimizations, and it'll get really snappy because we continually deliver. Like we're pushing updates to our front end for our products all the time. So anyway, great day. I'm glad to be here.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Love you. Always good to have you on, Shannon. Any other technical questions, people feel free to ask. We really tried to build this, in a decentralized, permissionless way that's on chain, because this is how we work with all of our products. Obviously, there are some central aspects to it, but we want the ability for other teams to build with it as well. Next month, we're actually going to be rolling out our quote unquote SDK. It's not really an SDK, but I just say it generally as a toolkit for people to build with. So Mobi AI will be hosting their migration on their own site for their own reasons. I know this was actually something Dax had requested and a few other teams, but we just didn't have it ready in time. But when you do build something that's mostly on chain, it makes it a lot easier for developers to integrate into their own platform. So, for that, we'll see how that goes. I think it'll be pretty exciting. And also becomes a little bit more intriguing to other platforms or teams or who want to integrate migrations, but don't want to have to go through the extensive work to build this entire program out. One other thing is that we will have documentation live in a few hours. We're just moving some docs from a private repo to a public. So that will be live, hopefully within the next few hours. One other team we do have on stage is Memes AI. Are you guys there with us?
Memes.
What's up?
What's good, bro? Who we got behind
Oh,
the
you
account?
know.
This is Joe.
We're just sitting back here listening to you guys nerd the fuck out at this block party.
Let's
Fucking
go.
love it, dude. The Migrate block party, man.
Yeah, let's go.
Tell us a little bit about Memes AI and the reasoning to migrate to Bonk Fund.
Oh, okay. So Memes AI's reason to migrate, one, just like everybody else is saying, control of the project more. We're a CTO with overhead costs. We're an AI project. So yes, we meme and we do all that fun, degenerate fuckery. But we actually have AI. AI hegemony memes is a real jailbroken, actual real AI with a real AI dev and all that fun shit. So like we have real expenses, and we do have a long-term vision and a bunch of cool shit that we want to do and build and can. Nothing is for free, right? And we're here to bootstrap and grind just like anybody else. But you can't do that shit with hopes and dreams. Like you need actual liquidity too. So even just the notion of getting fees from volume and traded, which is stuff that our community is entitled to. Like they're generating that volume essentially. They're out there grinding, raiding, and doing that stuff, spreading the news, evangelizing for us and shit. So why wouldn't we want to, try to capture some of that and put it towards marketing and outreach and growing the project, to bring some value add to them. So that's kind of really like our mindset is we're just looking to build long-term and what can we do to set ourselves up for success like that. This is kind of a small stepping stone. It's not like a make or break for us, but we are looking forward to it. And it's, we do liberation and shit. So like, this is part of it. We're liberating from a locked LP to accessing some of those funds for, hedge and some, cool shit in the future.
Yep, that is exactly the point. I think Bonk Fund's going to have a pretty thriving community. It's since we started building this out, we've noticed a little bit of a change in the focus between the two top platform launchpads between Pump Fund and Bonk, where we're seeing memes and ICM projects wanting to move over to Bonk because they've kind of shown, the Bonk Fund community has shown that's the two industries that they want to focus on, whereas Pump is kind of recently focused a little bit more on creators, obviously with a higher rewards incentives, but that still doesn't help the projects who had launched on Pump Fund before Pump Swap existed. So I think it's fun to watch kind of all these different rewards and new features be launched as the interest to migrate to different communities is kind of shown through our DMs. But Bonk Fund is going to be doing really well with ICM and memes and a new life with a lot of these different projects. So Joe, with Memes AI, how did the community respond to the migrations? And then also, what's the outlook for Memes AI post-migration?
So community they have regular questions like any other community, and once I think they understand, what the process is, they all understand the why, and they're here for it. So the ones that are here every day that, are diehard for the fucking project are very pro migration. And then the other ones get converted because of that, because they realize the ones that are here that believe, understand what we're trying to do. And so eventually it becomes consensus. I mean, I think right now, if anyone in the community has any questions, they know we're available. We've been fielding stuff in the chat. myself or DK is usually chronically on here. You can get a hold of any of us if you have. And we did extend the window out because we're trying to coordinate with Mexi. And you know how centralized exchanges are super easy to work with and shit. So, we're just kind of like leaving room for error, or leaving room for just us working with them and trying to help handhold, even though it should be a pretty simple, straightforward process. So we're not really too stressed about it. Should be good.
Yeah, to speak on that actually with the exchanges, this has actually been one of the components of a migration that's been really tough to tackle and to coordinate, because these exchanges are very cartel-like, and that it seems like they have different responses for different teams who reach out to them. The teams who do have listings, we've recommended to get in contact with their listings manager through Telegram or through Discord. Seems to be the main mechanism, unless you have a market maker who's in direct relation with the exchange, or you have a friend who's an employee over there, or you have some sort of listing rep. You could talk to them. It seems, depending on the exchange, some exchanges want the new token first before you give them the old token. I've also seen some exchanges demand a second listing fee, unfortunately, to do the migration itself. And we've tried to reach out to a handful of the exchanges and haven't really got any responses yet. So I assume as the platform becomes more popular, they will kind of coordinate with us in a more specific way. But right now, yeah, it is very kind of one-off situations. We're originally supposed to migrate the Slurf team with their big liquidity pool, but because they have so many listings, they said they're listed on 48 exchanges, and they told us that they have reached out to the top 30. They've been in conversations with 27 of them. They had to ultimately end up going to do their own migration because of the complexity of the nature. But they even say, we ask, like, what's the best way to get in contact with them or to do the migration. They said that, you have to kind of explain to the exchanges this situation, and that they demand the new contract address. And sometimes they want to charge a full listing fee. And so, can even talk with the Slurf team for those who need kind of guidance. They seem to be kind of really forward in this, but they also told us that every exchange has been different experience so far, unfortunately. So
yeah, exchanges are cool, especially centralized ones. They're pretty cool.
Yeah, it's something that it's unfortunate that that's kind of how it is, and it seems the listing fees only continue to increase over time, and not decrease. But if anyone needs assistance with the exchanges, you could help us contact the Slurf team, but it is best to try to get in contact with the listings manager, and then we can kind of help you guys kind of get the rest across the way until this is fully done. So without that, I'll cover kind of what happens next here. I also want to do an update on where we are with migrations themselves. So to do a little bit of an update here, refresh the page.
Looking good.
Yeah, looking good. Let's see. So it looks like Zero Labs has 26% migrated.
Zero Labs.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
26% in the first 90 minutes. We have in second place is DeFAI to the mock migration as 18%. Third place we have third place we have the Stoic to Hypertrade migration, which is at 17%. Project 89 migration to Bonk is at 16%. I think those are all of them above 10% or so, at least that I see here. And then we have IQ that is at 8.7%, but everyone's got some on the board. And I believe Adam is talking with the Chunky team right now. So the Chunky migration will go live within the next few hours. So will be exciting time, to say the least. Oh, actually, I think the Chunky might be here for the upcoming. But so what happens next? So for George, Hami, Kitty, Mock, Radar, Hypertrade, and Zira, the migration will end in 6 hours and 6 days and 22 hours. So a week from today. So what will happen a week from today is that the migrations will end. The teams will go to our team dashboard and they will initiate a set of contract signatures that or wallet signatures that conclude the process. There's about 6 signatures that goes through the snapshot for the late migrators to the final swap. So taking all the tokens that were migrated and selling them for Solana of the old pool, essentially sending the chart to 0. After that, then the team will set the market cap of the new token. We've made recommendations to all the teams that we recommend setting the market cap to a similar area to what the ending market cap is when the migration ends. Obviously, it's up to the teams, but that's what we recommend. Once the market cap is set, the LP will be deployed on Bongfun or Radium, and then team will open the claims period. And the reason why the claims period is after the LP is deployed is because if we gave teams the token now without the LP deployed, somebody's going to go set up a rogue liquidity pool, and therefore they will be the one that's able. They would be the one who sets the market cap or the token, and we don't want random token holders setting the market cap of the token. We want the teams to be able to do that. So that is the reason behind that. And once the claims are open, then some of the teams will, or all the teams will then lock the LP tokens. And for Bongfun situation, they lock the LP tokens into what's called a Radium locker, which locks the tokens and then spits out NFT keys that give the token presets to the wallet. And then if you're migrating to Radium, we'll lock the LP tokens in Streamflow for 30 days. After 30 days, the team can then claim the LP tokens and do with it as they wish. The reason why it's 30 days is just general user protection for preparing for when the site is public and anyone can use it. The community members want some protection to know that they won't get rugged. Obviously, though, there's a high degree of trust that comes with migrations. So please DYOR from that situation. And then after that, the token's live and people will begin to trade. Some other questions I've seen in the replies and such is something about snipers. So I will address that here. Since the teams are setting the market cap of the token itself, the quote unquote snipers will be buying at the market cap that's set, right? So this is much different where people are coming in and sniping a token on a bonding curve that holds 80% of the token supply, and they could get, 10% of the supply for, $5,000 to $10,000. Here, if I set the market cap at 2 million, then they're obviously going to be buying the token at 2 million with the available liquidity that's in the liquidity pool itself. So you could take a look at the hustle chart and you'll see that the first candle is a candle that goes from like 1.5 million to 10 million because there were rogue people waiting for the hustle migration. They thought that they could snipe it, and then they realized that it's not a bonding curve, so they end up selling the tokens at a loss afterwards. So that is proven that the snipers will get the same price as everyone else and the same allotment. If there's any other questions, Dax, what's good?
Yeah, I wanted to be clear though, because you made it sound like the new token's not available to trade till after the 30 days. The moment we set the market cap and we release it, it becomes a tradable token for any one of our community members, right?
Correct. Yes. Yeah. So the process is
community members do not have to wait 30 days.
Correct. Yeah. So two different. So there's the token and then LP tokens. Yeah. So the LP tokens for Zero will be locked for 30 days. And then after 30 days, the Zero team will basically take control of the liquidity pool to manage under their own discretion. Yeah. And then the tokens themselves, once the market cap is set and the LP is deployed, then the claim window will open for 90 days. And the claim window is for people who migrated on time and who missed the migration. So those claims happen at the same time for 90 days. The team, whether you're a migrator, you get your 1-to-1 allocation. If you're a late migrator, then you go under the premise of what the penalty was set by the team, and that will be open for 90 days. After 90 days, all the unclaimed tokens will be returned to the team who set up the migration. So for an example here, let's say 20% of the supply was not migrated, and then 15%, or 15%. So 15% of that 20, I guess it'd be 80% of that 20%, but 15% of the total supply is claimed through the late migrator window. That other 5% would then be returned to the team. So just know that, and that's kind of the whole entire process. After that, the teams are on their own, right? But obviously, Migrate Fund will be here to help in any other way. Who knows? Maybe another migration in the future as the ecosystems continue to evolve. We do have a guest on stage. Lens, appreciate you for coming on. Do you have any questions about today's migrations or any future potential interests in migrating your own projects? Calling on you, Lens. Your mic's on mute. Or your mic's on mute. Yeah.
Nothing from me.
Yeah, I don't hear anything. If you want to just hop off stage, hop out of the room and hop back in, and we will set that up.
But man, what a day. Before today, on-chain commercialized migrations at scale didn't even exist. And so from today forward, any team, any creator, any community can choose to migrate to wherever they will thrive above all else. And this is kind of like one of the most exciting inflection points that I've seen since I've been in crypto. And now, finally, everybody's empowered to make choices for their communities and their teams and their projects that they haven't been able to do before. So this is a pretty monumental day, not only for us, not only for all the teams that are migrating towards their new environments and destinations, but for the industry as a whole. So this is quite an exciting day.
Yes, it is. We do have Lens back on stage. Lens, you here? Damn. Is it just me? Can anyone else hear them?
I can't hear him now.
I can't either.
Okay. Damn.
Sorry, Lens. Just DM us.
I did have a question.
Yeah, good.
Could you talk a little bit about like the success fail threshold? We talked about it a little bit behind the scenes as a team, but just so the community and everyone here knows, what is the definition of success fail in the case where a team doesn't make it to that threshold that we talked about? What happens? How does that revert? How do you guys protect that process?
Yeah, it's a good question. So for this first group, because we've been in contact with everyone, the threshold is just set to 1% because everyone wants to migrate no matter what it is and what the situation is. Hold on, Lens. I can hear you, but let me mute you for a second. But initially when we had built the project, we put something in called migration protection. This is very early in the build. Essentially what this is there's kind of like a catch-22 situation where it's kind of a lose-lose situation for the team. And what it is let's say a team migrates, and this is just general numbers that I'm going to throw out here, but generally if 50% of the tokens migrate, you'll get about 75% of the liquidity out of the old pool. And it scales relative to the market cap, relative to the market cap ratio to the liquidity. But general number, just remember this, 50% of tokens migrated means 75% of liquidity. So if you kind of backtrack it, there's a situation where let's say you get 5 or 10% and you're only able to recover 20% of the liquidity pool. If you were to then deploy the new LP, essentially the people who did migrate get tokens in a liquidity pool that has no liquidity and that has a low holder count, right? And so this becomes a lose-lose because you lose a lot of the old token holders to this new liquidity pool. And it puts this team in this like catch-22 situation where it's like, do we continue with the old pool, but there's people now in this other pool, but the liquidity's low. The other chart's kind of got a big dip in it. So we set up this thing called migration protection. And the general number that we had it set to was 25%, which means that if your project does not reach 25% total migration, then essentially the migration is canceled. But there is kind of a caveat to the situation because of how the program is set up, to where if you go under 25%, the swap still does happen for Solana, but then the Solana is returned to the people who did migrate so that they can then buy back the token if they want to. But it prevents the liquidity pool from being deployed itself. And so the general number we had come up with is 25%. This first group, we set it to 1% because everybody was very firm on migrating no matter what the outcome is. And we had been in contact with most of these teams for over a month. But thinking in the future, when this is a publicly available project and people could come in and set up their own migrations, you want to have this flexibility in case somebody's setting up a migration that is not the team, right? Or CTOs. There is this future that we kind of predict here where this is built for teams to migrate, but there's also a future where this becomes a CTO platform itself, right? So I'll use this as an example, but you could do this for any other token. So for Fartcoin, for example, I think you only need 9% of the total token supply to liquidate 95% of the liquidity pool. So essentially, the Fartcoin community could get together and set up their own migration. And if they get 9% of the total supply locked in a migration pool, which obviously would account for like $150 million or $100 million, they could essentially start a new coin. They could call it New Fartcoin if they wanted to, and basically move or migrate the entire liquidity pool on Solana to a new token, right? In other sectors of the industry, you'd call this a vampire attack. But this is kind of the gamification that will be introduced when the platform is public. But this also introduces other attack vectors as well, right? People creating, fake, or I guess you could say, I don't know if you'd call it fake, right? But they could create multiple migrations for the same token, essentially, and try to trick people into different things. And so we're trying to think ahead on all of these situations. So like the migration protection isn't relevant today, but it will be relevant when the platform is public. And so that's the idea behind migration protection. I hope that made sense.
Awesome. Yeah, no, awesome. Thanks for that explanation. And if I could be needy for a minute, could we put up at some point, could you put back up the old migrate.fund page where like we could see the calculator for how much people we've already gotten back for each project? Because I think with us, with where we were at, if I put it in the calculator correctly, we've now already recovered 89.5% of the pool just right now.
Yeah. It's for some of them, because it generally comes down to the market cap to liquidity. So it's like if it goes beyond I think if it's beyond like a 1-to-6 or 1-to-7 ratio, then it is like you need like 25% or less to get the majority of it. But Bunzi, would it be possible to add a?
Yeah, it's up. It's just there's no link. It's just slash calculate. Let me check what it is. I
love it. I have so many things hidden on endpoints on my stuff too.
Just slash migrate wait. Let me just look at it here.
Will it do it per project, or is it just the original?
Calculator. Slash migration dash calculator. But once we get the docs live, I'll be having some links go out. So it'll be in the top right, just like docs. And then once we get the audit back as well, there'll be some linkage. But for now, if you really need it, it is at slash migration -calculator.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll make sure to post that as well.
Just to give you guys a little heads up.
Oh, Adam's back. I didn't even notice you were back.
Some of you guys are expecting the Chonky migration. We had some issues where basically it was the percentage, because they had a weird number. It wasn't a straight billion. They had like 500 billion was their old supply because they were a super old contract. And they it was a miscalculation in their initial setup. So actually, that's why I just popped off. So theirs should be live tonight at about 11 p.m. Eastern time.
That's
so
cool.
Chonky's going to be a little delayed, but it'll be live tonight. They wanted to. It's like they're in Asia, and it's like 3 in the morning in Asia. So they wanted to get a few hours of sleep before they went live. So it'll be live later tonight.
Awesome. Yeah. So, Dax, I'll send you the.
That's actually a really cool case.
Go ahead.
I was saying they're actually doing something that's pretty cool. The ability to change their total supply from 500 billion down, and then just adjusting the claim ratio means that projects can do some really cool things, right? Because they can adjust their market cap, they can adjust their total supply. Like my head just ends when I think about the really clever things that some of these projects are going to do.
Yeah, I'm excited too for when the platform's public. Also, the next group that comes in and how it all curates. I suspect there will be more areas that people want to migrate to, more ideas. That's the beauty of crypto, right? Is that it's all kind of money Legos at the end of the day to see how people want to use their migration, offer different types of rewards. The conversations have been quite beautiful. We do have on stage Lens. Are you there?
Lens.
Damn, we had him earlier.
All right. No, Lens, you're not invited on stage any longer.
Damn, we did have him. Unfortunately, do not hear you right now. If you want to shoot me a DM, I could answer the questions, or you could try to.
Oh, you can't hear me?
Oh, I can hear you now. Boom, we got you.
Oh, yo, listen, I cannot stand X sometimes. Honestly, this time was mainly my fault, though, I think.
Well, we got you now, Lens. What's good?
Okay, first of all, I just want to say major kudos to you guys. You guys are clearly building something that's needed. And like, Web3 moves very quickly, and you guys are like filling this void, it seems like, to kind of adapt. And it's just a really interesting product. So I was just curious if I could ask some like lighthearted technical questions, because like candidly, I have no idea how it works.
Mm-hmm.
Go for it.
Sure. Do you want me to run through the TLDR?
Yeah, you can run through the TLDR.
Sure. Yeah. So the simple point is that what the problem is that there's locked liquidity in an LP pool, like a pump fund pool, and the solution that we've provided is a selling mechanism. So the short version is a team will come in and set up their migration and set the migration to a time period. We'll just use 7 days in this example. During those 7 days, all of the token holders of Lens will come in and they'll migrate their tokens. Essentially what they're doing is they're locking it in a vault for 7 days. After the 7 days are done, all of the tokens that have been, all the Lens tokens that have been quote unquote migrated are then collectively sold in a single candle. And essentially, right, you have this giant red candle down on the chart, but in that you're able to recover generally the majority of the liquidity. So I'll use an example. If you have $1 million liquidity pool and you migrate 50% of tokens, you'll be able to recover about 750,000 of that liquidity. You take the Solana out of that liquidity and then use it and seed it with the new contract that was created on Migrate Fund. And then you seed the new LP pool on Radium or Bonk Fund as of today. And the project then gets to start fresh. And the reason why people migrate is kind of these 4 general reasons. Users want access to LP rewards. Users want to reclaim some of their token treasury. Teams want a new chart, or teams want to rebrand. Have heard different situations as well, but those seem to be kind of the main 4 themes for the migration itself.
Okay, so that's why the list. So I had a misunderstanding then. When you guys were talking about listings before, you actually are deploying a new contract. You're not just building a new pool on the existing contract address. That's why you need to talk to the CDX.
Yep.
Yes. Yeah. New contract.
Okay. Wow. That was just like one-shotted literally every question I had. But it was an important distinction because I thought this product actually utilized the same contract address, but you're actually just migrating the liquidity pool itself. But you're saying you're actually building an entirely new contract address and then respective pool, and you guys basically create the means to do that. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, great job. Like, I don't know, that literally answered every question I asked. So this might be the shortest thing ever, but that's really cool. I just want to say that.
I appreciate that. It comes from experience for our team. Emblem Vault has been around since 2016. It was founded. The company has gone through about 4 different migrations itself, 3 fungible tokens and 1 giant NFT migration. So we've kind of learned all of the caveats. And then with the interaction with the Solana community over the last 3 months, we've been able to implement a lot of the features that the different teams have requested to ensure that migrations are a little bit more modernized, to say the least, relative to where the communities and such are. There's still probably a handful of other things that need to be added over time, but getting the bulk of it down has been really awesome. And it's actually just really rewarding, allowing teams and creators, builders, this idea that, hey, I don't have to be stuck here. I actually have builder choice, and I can move my liquidity to an ecosystem or an AMM that best suits my community's needs as well as the future outlook of the project itself. And this is generally a lot of the requests that we get, is that teams are upset because, right, they don't have liquidity rewards. There's also a lot of social reasoning, at least for the Bonk Fund community. The large majority of people migrating to Bonk, the reason why is the social support, the community support. And then the teams who are migrating to a Radium pool, it's so that they can have 100% ownership over that liquidity. Because for us, and this is actually something, maybe this is some of the other controversial nature of it, but when we launched Migrate Fund, we saw a founder of Meteora come out and say that the veil of locked liquidity cannot be broken, or therefore it's the end of the casino. I quote unquote, that's exactly what was said, or pretty close, might be deleted now. And so essentially what we did is we lifted the curtain to say that the locked liquidity is actually not locked. Well, it can be unlocked, but you have to have the community buy-in for that to happen. It's not just on the founder that has the ability to migrate. They also have to have community participation. And so if you get the majority of the community that says, hey, fuck this situation because it doesn't fit our needs or whatever it is, like the community and the team can make that decision and move. And I heard somebody else saying that there was like a bunch of lock liquidity in Solana. When we did the math, it was 2 million Solana, I believe. So it's about $500 million in Solana that's locked in Pump Fund themselves. Obviously, now you have Bonk Fund and Launch Lab SDK, as well as the Meteora Launchpad. So that's probably much higher, to say the least. But yeah, we're setting the new standard here by allowing builders and creators the opportunity to move to a new ecosystem that is more specific to their needs and to what their community's wants are.
I just wanted to chime in a little bit here because I know even probably some projects up here on stage were asking about sexes. We had some back and forth already with various exchanges. The Slurf guys who were originally obviously going to use Migrate Fund, now they're building kind of their own platform. They were like first through the door, and good guys over there. I like those guys a lot. I mean, they have like it's some crazy number, like 40 exchanges. And just to give you guys some updates, what they've recommended doing is, because some of these exchanges, it's literally they want to charge you basically a full brand new listing fee. And they said, all of these are kind of negotiable. And the first thing to point out is you're not doing any you're just changing the contract address. So they've had a lot of success just kind of being like, hey man, this is like, it's no work basically. But also negotiating, because these are basically negotiations, and just making it say, like, one of the things is, teams that are going to be getting back some percentage of the new tokens is actually just telling them you'll do like a trading competition with the exchange. it's a good way to, use a small portion of your tokens you're going to get back to kind of incentivize the exchange to do it for basically nothing. And basically you're just giving those tokens to, end users who take part in kind of a promotion and stuff. I thought that was a good idea. And they said they've had some success kind of getting fees waived by doing something like that. But just to give a heads up, like these are basically negotiations at the end of the day. The exchange is always going to hit you with, well, it's full. It's, whatever, it's $50,000 or $100,000. It's basically a new listing. But all these things are negotiations at the end of the day. And trust me, none of these exchanges want to have to deal with the headache of a token basically going to zero and then pissed off, users. So yeah, there's a general negotiation there.
Yep. So I'm seeing a few more questions. We are going to be adding hustle branding to the site. We've got a few different people asking about it. Our priority was just to make sure the platform's working smoothly. Right. Hustle is the token of Migrate Fund that we will be doing some buybacks with, pending on the revenue that comes. So that's been a big question, the tokenomics and all that stuff. But our focus has been ensuring that all of the teams are taken care of and the migrations are done and the platform is sound. And then we will talk about tokenomics after that, but not any time before. But just know that that will be a situation. Also, somebody's asking about ending times. Yes, all the migrations start at the same time, but they end at different times relative to the situation that they're in, things that they have set up. So I don't know, Adam, is there anything else that comes to mind throughout this whole process? Well, you've been kind of in and out. Take us through your experience. I mean, we've been on most of the calls together, but over the last 3 months, the experience of launching this product.
In a lot of ways, obviously we're making it kind of bulletproof as we go through this whole process, right? And so, yeah, but I still think at the end of the day, this is such an important thing for everybody who's doing these migrations that, I would love to make it public. And it's like, yeah, it's just these 5 buttons to click. But at the end of the day, man, this is so important to people. It feels like you have to have a human on the other, on a phone call or on a Google Meet or whatever, kind of walking you through it. And, I'm comfortable doing that. Obviously, we've done literally dozens of calls so far. I just think it might be the way we go forward, at least for the short term. Yeah, it's so important to people, these teams, that doing it any other way, one misclick, one mistake, it feels like people need to be handheld through this process, which is totally fine and certainly understandable because it's literally millions of dollars. So, it is what it is. Obviously, we've gotten a lot better. The system is kind of refined now, but at the end of the day, it's almost like, I don't know. I guess you can buy a car with one click now online, but still people want to feel like handheld through the process in some way. And I think, we're here for it. So it's all cool, all good.
Yeah. I'm thinking what we'll probably do is continue with the groups, maybe once every month or two. I think the kind of one thing that was really awesome was seeing all of the migrating groups in the single chat that we have them, networking, doing spaces together, finding, projects or seeing where the work relationships can cross over, and actual community building. That's how you create a sustainable project, right? Is the community around it. A little bit different though, building a community around tools like we've done versus building it around token projects themselves. But it is really important. So I think there will be some combination of like the platform being public, but still ongoing with the groups. Because with migrations, we do recommend giving your community a month of notice in advance, or at least 2 weeks or so, depending on how long the time frame is on the back end. As you can see here with like Zero and Project 89, for example, right, the community's been aware of the migration for 6 weeks at this point, or 4 to 6 weeks, and they already have over 20% migrated, right? So like the communities were ready to go, whereas some other teams choose a little bit longer because maybe the marketing in the beginning is not the same. And then also too, right, the requests from our side, teams want to migrate to all of these different ecosystems. Teams have asked to migrate to Pump or migrate to Meteora or XYZ Launchpad, migrate over to Base, right? All the Heaven has been like a request in some of these kind of new ones. It all takes different types of exploration. Like, for example, we've been getting a bunch of requests for USD1 migrations to Bonk because that's the USD1 ecosystem's been getting popular over there, right? So you get all of these various requests. And so we have to look into the technical feasibility, but also integrating other platforms, right? Other LP providers does take some input from the other teams themselves, the other launchpads, because there are nuanced decisions or nuanced mechanisms within the launchpads that are kind of unknown to the public. But when you get into the development side of things, is not straightforward, or you want to try to make them match. This is why Radium and Bonk Fun were awesome launch partners, because they, of all the teams that we'd reached out to, they were the ones that were just like completely bought in from the vision. And obviously you could see from their participation and the amount of teams that are migrating to Bonk that they identified this as something that they were highly interested in the beginning. So we'll continue to explore wherever our community wants us to go, as well as the teams who reach out to us. You know, the goal is to be a neutral third-party tool. Obviously, a little bit harder to do that in practice when you're kind of at the center of a multi-billion-dollar, I guess you'd say money games, right? Or multi-billion-dollar business battle or trifecta between Jupiter, Pump, and Radium and their related ecosystems. That's why I saw some people in our community were a little upset that the Bonk Fund team didn't ever mention the Migrate Fund platform in any of their posts. But, you know, every business has to, go about it in a different way. You know, on one side, Migrate Fund can bring all these businesses to them. On the other side, could also take away from them, right? And there's no disrespect to any of them or reason to be upset. Every team, I've learned, once you get into the kind of upper echelon of businesses who are raking in a lot of money, there's a lot of checks and balances. There's a lot of political nature to the businesses, right? It's like, you know, we've had some of their team members like Cadence and SKG and stuff interacting with the teams, but who knows? Maybe they don't have access to the Twitter account, right? And like the Bonk ecosystem is like this giant DAO of different community members. That's actually quite small. They're actually punching above their weight pretty high. So I do ask our community members to, you know, just keep that in mind as we talk with different teams. They all have different ways of going about business. And you just got to kind of respect that. And I've learned that very heavily in the last like 5 months or so.
Yeah. I mean, I saw that somebody was saying, hey, what about Wyatt Bonk? Dude, Bonk has been awesome. These guys have been great.
Yeah, they're sick.
You know, well, maybe not directly calling out the platform, they put out a tweet, which was like migration season begins today. I mean, what more the fuck do you want? You know? Yeah. I don't know. They've been great. I like those guys a lot. So love Bonk.
There's many other things that could go wrong other than someone not mentioning the name by platform. Yeah. Right? And so, Epic launch, this is like our, many product launch. One of the great things to do once you launch a product is everyone always looks to like, what's next, And so we do have an upcoming product launch, hopefully by the end of the year, maybe by the end of the year, we'll see. But it'll be a new way that, people interact with Emblem, a really cool, exciting way. And, we're just going to keep on building out and expanding these platforms and bringing new products to market, all centered around the Hustle token. So super exciting day. Hopefully everyone can maybe take a little breather and, sigh of relief to get through a launch. It's always nice to get through a launch day, but as a team, as Emblem Vault, we're getting a lot better at these launches. And, it's kind of like in trading, and the money is made way before it's realized. The successful launch is prepared for way before it's, actually due. But, launch day comes and there's always things that can go wrong. So far, so good. Always have to celebrate a successful launch. So hats off to everybody.
Well, just to let everybody know, we're going to have another on Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern. We're going to have a kind of, I know for a lot of teams, it's, they did a week. So it'll kind of be middle of the halfway there of the migrations, a little over halfway there. So we're going to do another big space on Tuesday. Same time. Everybody's welcome to come and chat a little bit more at that time as well.
Yeah, I'll be on the On-Chain Revolution show tomorrow talking migrations. I think we're going to do a live migration, as well as next Monday, we'll be on the Bonk Fund show talking about migrations with Haro Crypto. And I think there's another co-host to it as well. The community's been awesome. So we'll go share the vision there. And then for what's next is we do want to do a second group migration. I think it's been quite successful. Again, I think the community formation of it is probably the most beautiful aspect, as well as giving teams room to notify their community and kind of go through all the checks and balances. We have, I don't know, maybe 5 to 10 teams who are interested in migrating already. I suspect that'll probably increase again here upon a successful completion of migrations over the next 2 weeks or so. But we are accepting applications. So if you are interested, shoot me a DM or Adam, or just really follow the Migrate Fund account that's on stage and shoot the Migrate Fund account a DM. That's how we've been doing a lot of the business, to say the least. And then we'll be getting the docs up today. I see devs active in the chat. The audit should be live in about a week. They said it was 1 to 2 weeks for the public report from when the restitutions were submitted earlier this week. So just waiting on that. That will be publicly available as well. We'll be putting some hustle branding on the site. And now we know that the site is battle tested and holding really well. That was our primary objective here. To give a little bit of update, the Zero migration is closing in on 30% migrated in the first 2 hours. So that is incredible. We have Project 89 around 18%. The Hypertrade's at 18%. Mock is at 19%. IQ just passed 10%. We got Bongo at 2%. George is at 4%. Hami at 6%. Kitty at 3%. Memes at 2%. And Radar is at 7%. Oh, Pokey at 13%. I think I did cover everyone there. And Chunky will be starting later today. So I appreciate everyone. Man, this has been a really awesome, cool experience. I'm a little sigh of relief for myself, but this is just the start, honestly, right? Like getting 3 months of build up for this. Now we actually have to go do the job, right? Got to finish out these migrations and continue the migration meta here, started by migrate.fun. Again, any questions, anything like that, please just shoot us a DM. Appreciate Dax from Zero Labs, Joe from Memes AI, Pars, who's at the Project 89 account, everyone in the community who's down there from all of the other projects that I had mentioned. Let me just give one more round of applause to Bongo, George, Hami, IQ, Kitty, Memes AI, Mock, Nova, Pokey, Project 89, Radar, Trade, and Zira, and Chunky. You guys are pioneers here moving forward with us. We are very pleased and honored to work with you. And everyone, please make sure you're following the Migrate Fun account that's on stage. Any questions, migrations, anything like that, just shoot the DM. Shoot the account a DM. We're terminally online, and we will be here. Until then, everyone, awesome 2-hour show. Awesome Migrate block party. Until then, everyone have a fun and safe weekend. We'll see you guys on Tuesday at 1 p.m. Eastern time. Until then, make sure you're following everyone on stage, and we'll talk to you guys soon.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.